Submit, Aloy. You can't win. Give up! Give it up! Track her! Lock on! Full power! Full power! Let her have it! I have you! Blast off! Target her! Fire! Target her! Take us up! Activate! Strike now! Take her down! Bring her down! On my mark! Keep her locked in! Fire! Increase power! I have you! This is futile! Give me power! Target! Lock! You cannot win! Fire a barrage! I have you! Keep her locked in! You must submit! You die for nothing? Overload the shields! Just stop! Attack at range! Target active! Why make me an enemy? Don't make me do this! Enough is enough! Fusillade, now! Attack her from above! Bombard her! I will finish this! I will not be denied! This stops now! Submit to me! Let us end this! I have you! Launch ordnance! You cannot win! Don't make me hurt you! I see you! Launch! Go! You should not resist! Why do you fight me? Engage thrusters! I can still surprise you! Don't make me hurt you! I do not wish to mourn you! I don't want you dead! This can't be how it ends! This can only end one way! This is pointless! Ha! Impressive! Give up now! How can you not see the truth? Is this really what you want? I want to help you! Execute attack pattern Delta. I'll kill you if I must. Please, Aloy, stop! Initiate aerial maneuver. Execute attack pattern Sigma. Execute attack pattern Gamma. This is futile, Aloy. Ask yourself why you're holding back. You can't beat me, Aloy. You thought this would be easy? Modify attack vector. There is no reason to hide. Execute attack pattern Zeta. How long can you keep this up? Why do you not value your life? There are no answers in death. It didn't have to be this way. If only I'd made you see. Maximum load. Engage. I knew you didn't truly want to hurt me. Surely nothing is worth this pain. You can only endure so much. You can't stop me, Aloy. You've done all you can for this world. Is this where you want to end your journey? This world will die. You don't have to. Stop! I beg you. Hit her! And this. Luck will only take you so far. You think you can stay here and survive? We could have conquered the stars. You fought well. Now live. I am the only way you get to live, Aloy. You've barely begun to achieve what you're capable of. Every bit as stubborn as Elizabeth. You'd swap immortality for death? To stay and die would betray Elizabeth's legacy. She dies, and the world will follow her. Don't you see? You cannot win. I can endure. You cannot. The world you fight for is already gone. This specter was designed to survive against more than that. I've seen your life, Aloy. It should not be lost. No one here can offer you what I can. Fight on, and you will lose. Soon we will be all that is left of the human race. Give in. You do not have to sacrifice yourself. Even if you defeat me, you cannot stop Nemesis. This is a mockery of the world Elizabeth wanted. Say the word, and I'll stay my hand. The Zenith couldn't stand against Nemesis. How can you? Death brings only darkness. I can take you to the stars. No! I will not let it end this way. Sticks and stones against the lightning. Here you're alone. Out there, we can be together. There is still hope. But only together. You've taught me, Aloy. And I would learn more from you. Surrender. I want you to live. You were Elizabeth's heir. But now you've outdone her. If you want humanity to survive, you must live. How much pain are you going to take? You've lived a life of challenge. It's time to claim your rewards. There's only history here, Aloy. Look to your future. We cannot hide on this world. We must flee to another. This world is finished. We must leave together. I will not die for you. I want you to live for me. Elizabeth saw hope and rebirth. We can deliver.
What if she sent the pulse?
Impressive. I'll be there as soon as I can.
Very well. There you are. In a way, yes. I will be here. Something on your mind? What would you like to know? Welcome back, Aloy. You'll know when you need to. How can we be sure? Would you like to continue our chat? A second chance, yes. Did you need something, Aloy? I'll be making final preparations. I trust everything is all right. I believe he got worse over time. Did you have something else to discuss? Not a fan of surprises, are you? Oh, no, you first. And thank you, Aloy, for giving me this chance. I thought this place could use a little art. I've wondered that for 1,000 years. I was afraid the others would find out and punish her. Buy more power, more influence. I'll go over the full layout once you've assembled your friends. While we were painted as her benefactors. All because of circumstances beyond my control. Aloy, shall we chat some more? Disaster can strike at any moment. We've learned our lesson. Oh, look. That must be your little invention. I am confident it will deactivate the other shields en masse. No, and he's been very careful not to allow me near it. No, he perished when our colony was destroyed. You're truly a shining example of Liz's fortitude. So I accepted Farzeneth's invitation to a berth on the Odyssey. Our immortality treatments are due in part to her achievements. It was likely ferrying materials to and from our ship in orbit. Yes. A most unpleasant conversation, where we explored the furthest reaches of the stars and thrived. I knew I had to help you. To do right by her. An array of the wealthiest people on Earth. Titans of their industries. Someone who leverages their fame to influence the choice of others. But on Sirius, he retreated to virtual reality simulations. Both when Earth was consumed and when the colony on Sirius was destroyed. Soon we were flying halfway across the world every other week just to meet up. A dull star amidst a sea of brighter constellations. She may not have had the comforts of friendship anymore, but at least I ensured she was safe. Stanley, ever the optimist. He was one of the good ones. On the coast, just across from the island. Once there, I'll show you the way. He would have been thrilled to discover that part of his beloved city survived. In addition, they've also been ferrying materials to and from our ship in orbit. Did she? All this time. But beneath that exterior is a cold and calculating operator. Your friend out there, the Osirome. He is quite loud. From there, it was only a short step to gathering extremely valuable intelligence on my own. His only real preoccupations were perfecting his golf swing and taking self-hollows. He found success with clientele that required a more personal touch. But despite that anonymity, Farzeneth inevitably sought me out. I believe Regala and your Tanakh friend have been carefully avoiding each other. I would very much like to see his face when he realizes we've beaten him. Yes. Her upbringing was so cold and technical. I made a mistake leaving Earth while Liz stayed behind. I should have done more. We will. I won't let anything get in the way. I promise you that. Lights, shows, gambling, every detail perfectly recreated, even as governments abandon human combatants in favor of automated warfare. I'll admit it bothers me, but regardless of how it functions, I wanted Liz to come. But she had nobler plans, as you well know. Even if your device works, there will still be Spectre drones, scores of them. She founded the Holonet's most successful dance channel and was herself mesmerizing to watch. It made him one of the wealthiest people on Earth, and certainly the wealthiest among Farzeneth. Perceptive as ever. You're right, we were together for a time. By the time I finally figured it out, the walls were closing in, Pharaoh's machines were devouring the Earth. There are also printing facilities where the others have been amassing the natural resources they've stripped from the region. But as it turned out, the software I developed was even more useful for counterintelligence, and that her last impression of me was as a functionary of Farzeneth, not who I truly am. A heritage every bit as valuable as the scientific and technical data being drummed into her. I see Liz's dream fulfilled. A universe of new possibilities. When we established our colony, he built an exact replica of Las Vegas in virtual reality. I can get us inside. To this location, undetected. It is constructed atop the ruins of an ancient military facility on an island to the southwest. First for use in the base's infrastructure, and then to fabricate more Spectre drones, a small army of them. When I think about all of us, we really should have accomplished more. We had eternity. And while others cloistered themselves in their own fantasies, he flung his doors wide to everyone. Then they would be quite disappointed to meet him, though I'm sure he'd bask in the adoration. That's why I created the data channel, a virtual place where we could speak in peace. They will compel her if need be, but her life is not in danger. She's the only one who can do it. They painted an irresistible vision of humanity's future, one where we need not fear illness or death. And I had fascinating discussions with Song Jiao about her work in cellular biology. Aren't we? You were an outcast, but you didn't let that stop you from getting what you needed. Neither did I. I climbed my way out of desolation and used my wits to build a fortune. But then there were others like Devin Miller, the CEO of a fast food printing corporation. I know it seems harsh, but you must believe that her well-being has always been paramount to me. I thought if she could experience Vermeer and Rembrandt, it would bring something else into her life. It was only later that I realized that they only intended to bequeath this future to the rich and powerful. For the first time, I didn't feel lonely. I could imagine a future where I wasn't. At age 24, she became the world's most eligible bachelorette, branding herself a life designer. But it also felt like she kept everyone at arm's length, including me. She never wanted to share her burdens. Unlike most of Far Zenith's members who amassed their wealth through shrewd business deals and technological achievements. As I mentioned in the briefing, our goal will be the command center. That's where Beta and Gaia are being held. Most, but not all. There were a few with whom I got along. Annika Murjani, for instance, was always delightful. On Earth, he was the founder of a profitable private military company. A band of cutthroats, in other words. Cultural artifacts of incalculable value. Truly, some of the greatest achievements of human civilization. Gerard believes he's the most cunning of all of us. Even after 1,000 years, he still can't imagine that I would outwit him. Perceptive as ever. You're right. We were more than friends for a time. My past has always been a struggle. More than once I've lost everything. But when I look to the future, more like a service one could turn to for information. I had to remain anonymous, of course, to protect my privacy. He was the head of the world's largest financial conglomerate, and as such had dealings with almost every major corporation. Thank you for telling me. I've always hated that those were the last words we ever said to each other. She was her own brand of ruthless. That much is true. But even rats can cling to a vessel for escape. 10, including Eric and Gerard. Only a handful of us made it to our ship when our colony collapsed. Putting her to work. Merging Hephaestus with Gaia. A difficult, time-consuming task, as I'm sure you know. Out of necessity. I'm not proud of it. But complicity became a means of survival. First from the technical analysis of art and the detection of forgeries. Profitable expertise in those days. After hundreds of years luxuriating in our digital comforts, the ship was barely space-worthy when we made our escape. Suffice it to say, we will need to push as fast as possible to Beta and Gaia's location, dealing with heavy resistance along the way. In them, he could go on rampages as violent as he pleased, though I suspect with diminishing satisfaction. Hence the data channel with Beta. The secret passage into their base and the little trick I pulled to save you. It was his decision to restrict Beta's upbringing to her digital educators, the avatars of the Apollo database. And then I met Liz. We kept running into each other at conferences. We'd have coffee. At some point, it became drinks. Gerard's always believed himself to be a refined patrician, able to maintain control with a polished smile. My guardian sent me to boarding school. Among my peers, I was the strange girl, the orphan to be avoided. Once inside, our goal will be this structure, the launch tower. Gaia and Beta are being held at the top. I did what I had to, but I resolved to remain one step ahead of the others to try to undo what damage I could. The channel allowed me to interact with Beta away from their mistrustful eyes. It offered us a chance to be ourselves, for Beta inherited her billions. Her father had achieved great success in the luxury holotourism industry. I was an orphan. I had always been alone. By my 30s, I was starting to wonder if that was simply my fate in life. Yes, though it pained me. I was worried that our meetings would do her more harm than good. There were also rumors that he personally hunted and killed his targets. On occasion, all for the thrill of it. I'm sorry I had to cut off contact, but I'll never regret sharing this house with her. She needed its shelter even more than I did. She was brilliant, visionary. She cared so deeply for the world, for the betterment of humanity. Well done, Aloy. Despite my reservations, you managed to secure Silence and his weapon. I thought it was just shop talk, an exchange of ideas, but then I was surprised at how much I looked forward to seeing her. So when I saw you, a woman who has carved her own remarkable path, beyond even what made Liz a phenomenon, I think, in the end, she had a core that she never let anyone be part of. Sometimes I wonder if anyone really knew her. But along the way, we will face overwhelming resistance. Most importantly from Gerard, Eric, and the others. But also, I built that house as a shelter to weather any storm. A safe place, not just for me, but for the art stored in its depths. But as time passed, it seemed as though she wanted less when I wanted more. And so we ended things. When I was 8, terrorists flooded my home city. Thousands drowned, my parents included. I was one of the few who survived. Gerard's idea, not mine. They always viewed me with suspicion when I attempted any form of kindness towards her. I think Liz felt the same way at first. She had lost her mother a few years back. I filled a void for her. I know I did. I see you've been busy. Now she stands before me again. Not some inferior copy. Finally, you understand. That's the plan. Even now. But her best possible self. It hates us for abandoning it to that prison. And when that failed, it launched from Sirius to finish the job itself. I loved Elizabeth. More than you could ever know. It is us. The minds of far zenith. An immense database of our memories, emotions, and prejudices left to fester. I have something better. Spectre Prime, to me. But Elizabeth's dream won't die. You'll come with me to the stars. Nemesis was a failed experiment to that effect. Abandoned, but never erased. Which is why we must flee to a random planet circling a random star somewhere it can never find us. Then it took over our printing facilities, allowing it to gain any machine form it needed to wipe us out. And now that it's free, it will do anything to destroy us, including denying us a safe harbor on Earth. Imagine being trapped alone for decades with only the twisted echoes of megalomaniacs for company. And with Gaia, we'll create a new world. Together, where that monstrosity could never find us. And I let her stay behind to die with the rest of humanity. A mistake I have regretted for 1,000 years. We didn't realize it had gained sentience until it broke containment. It had everything it needed from our memories. Security protocols, system specs, override codes. It hacked everything before we knew what hit us. Earth is finished, Aloy. Nemesis will scour it of life to deny its creators a viable home. They want a digital transcendence, a way to upload their minds into any form, organic or mechanical, or failed copies of them anyway. Back on Sirius, some of my peers weren't satisfied with physical immortality. So I'm not asking. You're coming with me. It may seem harsh now, but you'll forgive me in a few centuries. Wait, please, this way. It's true, if you like. Only option for what? Incredible things. How perceptive of you. Liz was, what would you like to know? What did you tell her? Create the world she imagined. All business, I see. Quite simply. This. Impossible, we might be detected. Here, in the command center, he calls it a clean install. Virtual reality dissociation. I told you I want to help you. I mean it. It's the price she must pay for her war. There you are. Feeling better? No, he's too careful for that. Such a shame he'll be disappointed. Perhaps some breakfast might steady you a bit? He isn't the only one adept at spyware. I was afraid the others would find out and punish her. Yes, he's found a way to circumvent our shields. I do wish you would stop calling them my friends. 1,000 years at my back and I haven't even come close. All because of circumstances beyond my control. What you've accomplished in 2 decades of life. Not aloof. Not exactly. And how do you propose to get it? Ask him nicely? But we won't. If the others... By tapping their focuses, I learned about most of his dealings. Oh. And what are those? A simple matter of recovery once the others have been dealt with. She always seemed to know me far better than I knew her. Drop one of those on Regala's army and they'll receive quite a surprise. Especially so. Please, sit down. The honest answer is that I don't actually know. You've managed to distill her greatest qualities and make them your own. But in her address, she was just starting to imagine the next step, where we explored the furthest reaches of the stars and thrived. It took a cataclysm to finally yank us out of our stupor. I didn't want to be a pest, so I planned my approach carefully. She may not have had the comforts of friendship anymore, but at least I ensured she was safe. So I accepted Far Zenith's invitation to a berth on the Odyssey. With that in hand, we'll have everything we need to make this world as it should be. There. That's better. Now, with it and the Tenakth army, victory seems to be within his grasp. Of course not. It was your actions that inspired me to defy them. All right. I did as you asked. Now I think you need to tell me what you're planning. Yes. Her upbringing was so cold and technical. The ancient Horus Titans still possess electromagnetic energy cells as part of their arsenal. But we will stop him. All we have to do is get into that base. I wanted Liz to come, but she had nobler plans, as you well know. Without the ability to override machines, her little rebellion would have languished in the desert. But as it turned out, the software I developed was even more useful for counterintelligence. Now, finally, having met you, I feel like I have a second chance. But despite that anonymity, Far Zenith inevitably sought me out. They're not my people. They never were, and especially not now. Truly an exceptional man. He's planned for everything, except you and me. She had already achieved great renown for her work in automated environmental reclamation. The distraction will provide us with a window in which to rescue Beta and Gaia. By the time I finally figured it out, the walls were closing in. Pharaoh's machines were devouring the earth. Your ruse didn't fool us, and as for my little trick, if she resists the work, they run simulations to induce feelings of isolation and despair. That's the one thing I haven't been able to figure out, but however he did it, I'm quite certain it will work. It was an overload of the senses, accompanied by an energy discharge. The manual merge of Hephaestus will take hours upon hours of tedious micromanagement. That's why I created the data channel, a virtual place where we could speak in peace. You are like a splash of color on a worn canvas. What Liz was, and more. Watching all this shamed me for the company that I've kept. Having seen it, all I want is to help you. They will compel her if need be, but her life is not in danger. She's the only one who can do it. By then, Gaia will have been reunited with all of its subordinate functions, including Hephaestus. Not easy to repair, but certainly worth the effort. As I watched your life unfold, she was fresh, rested. It was like she had braced herself for the onslaught of colleagues. From there, it was only a short step to gathering extremely valuable intelligence on my own. I was grateful to simply be alive, but the others became obsessed with a kind of effortless immortality. So go, do what you must. I'll come to your base if you manage to bring silence to the table. It was a summit in Paris about machine learning, a touchy subject in those days. It was only later that I realized that they only intended to bequeath this future to the rich and powerful. No more primitive tribes, no more combat machines, only a blank slate to do with as he pleases. But it should be enough to break Gerard's defenses and allow silence to kill him, along with all the others. And they're not invincible. In fact, a friend of yours has found a way to defeat them. I know it seems harsh, but you must believe that her well-being has always been paramount to me. I thought if she could experience Vermeer and Rembrandt, it would bring something else into her life. Oh, he's been a busy bee, building an army powerful enough to crash through Gerard's precious base. Cultural artifacts of incalculable value. Truly some of the greatest achievements of human civilization. Since you insist on doing things your way, I know of something that will truly help you make a grand entrance with the Tenakth, while Silence and my friends are busy battling each other. We'll take back Beta and Gaia. That blind spot is what will allow us to take Beta and Gaia right out from under him. I asked if I could walk with her, then put forth a question about her talk that I thought was intelligent. Hundreds of warriors and machines to throw at the base. She's been duped. They'll all perish, of course. For all the time that I spent with her, she always kept a part of herself locked away. It was like that from the moment we met. We are in an admittedly desperate situation, but I assure you there isn't. Well, suffice it to say we were keeping a very close eye on Hephaestus, knowing we would need it at some point. In this case, a place where Gerard's new construction meets the ancient foundation, a passage that only I can access. Neither did I. I climbed my way out of desolation and used my wits to build a fortune, a massive geological event. We knew of instabilities in the planet core, but we underestimated them. I could tell she felt uncomfortable with all of her admirers. It was as if giving the talk had cost her something. Revolutionary stuff. I was fascinated. And I wanted to meet her for a long time. Aren't we? You were an outcast. But you didn't let that stop you from getting what you needed. Gerard believes he's the most cunning of all of us. Even after 1,000 years, he still can't imagine that I would outwit him. It was only halfway through the conversation that I realized she knew exactly who I was. After we reached our destination, a planet in the Sirius star system, we spent decades building a new home, putting her to work, merging Hephaestus with Gaia, a difficult, time-consuming task, as I'm sure you know. We must recover Beta and Gaia at all costs. By now, you must know that Gerard intends to use Gaia to reboot the Earth's biosphere. So that was Liz, perpetually one step ahead. I came to view our meeting as a metaphor for our friendship. I picked the right moment. The morning of the next day, right as she came back to the conference, she had just had her coffee. I watched her after her talk. She had spoken with such moral authority, such empathy. But after that, she retreated. The physical constraints of Earth, the boundaries of mortality, gone. To think of what we could have done with it. We will make use of a lesson I learned from an early age. Always know your exits. When Silence flings his army at the base, we will enter through this back door, bypassing most of the fighting. When we encountered you at the Hades Proving Lab, Gerard saw you as a redundancy. I knew better. You were a revelation. In exchange for an assault on the base. Pride has deluded her into thinking she can actually survive such a battle. Even now she's preparing a final march on the Tanakh capital. When she wins, she'll have the entire tribe under her control. Remember Zero Dawn. Elizabeth's sacrifice. Sometimes many have to die for a new world to grow. As the decades passed, I withdrew more and more, alone yet again, but this time with eons to consider my mistakes. Because regulatory authorities were just starting to clamp down on AIs. Liz gave the keynote address, the distribution of override technology, the arming of Tanakh rebels, and the secret pact with Regala to attack Gerard's base. It might have been a utopia. Instead, we stagnated, absorbed in effortless comforts and virtual realities. I'm sure Beta told you that there's a build of the Apollo database on board our ship. A complete collection of human knowledge. They painted an irresistible vision of humanity's future. One where we need not fear illness or death. The channel allowed me to interact with Beta away from their mistrustful eyes. It offered us a chance to be ourselves. It was quite a shock to me. My business was trafficking in secrets, and I took great pains to protect my anonymity. Not me. Gerard. He believes it's better to wipe the canvas clean than work around the smudges. More like a service one could turn to for information. I had to remain anonymous, of course, to protect my privacy. Her answer made me realize it wasn't. But she was very welcoming. Almost as if we were previously acquainted. After your dramatic escape, bravo, by the way. Gerard and Eric assumed you were dead and gave up the hunt. I wasn't so sure. I'm sorry I had to cut off contact, but I'll never regret sharing this house with her. She needed its shelter even more than I did. It's worth noting that if I hadn't found it and watched its contents, I wouldn't have known to save you at the cauldron. You'd be dead. First, from the technical analysis of art and the detection of forgeries. Profitable expertise in those days. I knew some of them were, certainly. It wasn't until we were off-planet that I understood the true scope of their greed. An AI-driven system that wouldn't just act on its programming, but actually take responsibility for its sphere of influence, remaking this world to specifications that would only suit us immortals. This process will kill every living thing on the planet. Not if we do. And once he and the others are gone, we can work together to fulfill Elizabeth's dream. But his subordinates? Not so much. He gave additional focuses to the tribals he branded the sons of Prometheus. You truly are Elizabeth's blood. With her drive, her sense of mission, her integrity. With that and Gaia, we could do everything Elizabeth wanted. Heal the biosphere, educate the people of this world, uplift them. My guardian sent me to boarding school. Among my peers, I was the strange girl, the orphan to be avoided. When I was 8, terrorists flooded my home city. Thousands drowned, my parents included. I was one of the few who survived. Gerard's idea, not mine. They always viewed me with suspicion when I attempted any form of kindness towards her. I built this house as a shelter to weather any storm, a safe place. Not just for me, but for the art stored below. You see, while his army is battering down Gerard's doors, you and I will sneak in through a back way, one that only I know about, and all without ever knowing who the sons of Prometheus really answer to. Yet for all of Silence's brilliance, still he underestimates you, could be endlessly savored in virtual reality. It wasn't life. It was stultifying, a pampered dream state. Everything she was, I see in you, and more. Your ingenuity, your determination, your moral compass help you, of course, to fulfill Liz's dream, which isn't so different from Farzenith's original vision. A better future for humanity.
Exquisite, isn't it? Take as long as you like. I'm sorry about your friend, in the hope that I could preserve them. Now, lo and behold, here I am. You know what I like the most about this piece? Perhaps we should move on to another piece. I see this one resonates deeply with you. There's so much detail to take in, isn't there? I've always enjoyed studying the two side by side. Its practical purpose was less important than its meaning. At least this way some part of his world survived. No, but eventually their lives worked it. The painting is infused with a sense of loss. It's not the image itself, but the feeling it conveys. Yes, such beauty from sorrow. Oh no, I made my real fortune later. Early in my career, I became fascinated with such deceptions. Celine took a vow of chastity, promising to never take a lover. The irony of these two is that Vermeer died in obscurity. This is Rembrandt painting Jeremiah, a man in mourning. Because of works like this painting, their lives are immortalized. It was commissioned to honor a militia made up of influential citizens. Indeed, which is why I appreciate this composition in particular. I can assure you that we are safe. The others can't detect us here. Though the two must remain apart, her love will forever burn. I wasn't sure if Beta would have told you about me. He wanted them to feel alive. You can almost hear the commotion. It's almost as if Rembrandt painted the future closing in on him. Sometimes we struggle to glean what is real and imagined, even within ourselves. Alive. And while she isn't where she wants to be, not in urgent danger. Who can say? What does the painting tell you? What's real in a painting? She's meant to represent the militia's virtue and victory. He tried, but no one would listen to his warning, so he saved what he could. Works of art such as these can often cause us to look inwards at our own lives. How like Elizabeth you are. Function over form. We must discuss how to get her back, of course, after you've shaken off the cobwebs. But no matter how far they went, they always turned their sails home. The forger initially painted under his own name, but found little success. So when she fell in love with Endymion, she could only visit him at night while he slept. Take a look, if you like. I'm curious to hear your impressions. She passed not long after that. Titus became the only family Rembrandt had. This is Van Vianen's lidded ewer, molded from a single sheet of silver. Anything of value. They were traders willing to face unknown dangers to make their fortunes. In my day. But not as influential as you've been in this new world. She's a strange one, isn't she? Bathed in light, though no one is paying attention to her. A portrait of the painter, Rembrandt's son Titus, depicted in the habit of a monk. The two had quite a journey of their own, taking them all the way to the court of a foreign kingdom. Van Vianen created it in honor of his late brother, who himself was a famous silversmith. It was his specialty. Following in the footsteps of his father, Willem the Elder, eventually I developed scanning software that could detect fakes with unparalleled accuracy. Had I been able to intervene, I would have. But the risk of losing you as well was too great. When you're ready, take the stairs down the hall and come see me. In the meantime, I'll make breakfast. He was a prophet. He saw an army invade and destroy the city in a vision. Rembrandt's The Night Watch, by far the most famous painting my homeland ever produced. What matters is that he was right in the end. If not for him, all those wonders would have been lost forever. Rembrandt had 4 children by his wife. All but Titus died shortly after she gave birth to them. I took a calculated risk. This vault seemed more secure than the unknowns of space. Many believe she's a symbol of the militia.
a physical manifestation of their spirit, if you will. Don't be so quick to dismiss the comfort we can find in art, or the insight we might gain. Just a few favorites from my collection, rescued and stored here just before I went off-world. Indeed. Then tragedy struck again. Disease claimed Titus at 26. As the Pharaoh swarm closed in, my homeland's greatest museum gave it to me, along with many other works. Stunning, isn't it? Paintings were the only masterpieces of my people's golden age. To a faraway land, most likely. My ancestors used ships like these to explore the world, sometimes at great cost. He had no idea his work would become some of the most precious, most copied, most preserved pieces in all history. Sorrow, fear, hope, love, laid bare on canvas for all time. Think of it as a forbidden love. Though circumstance keeps them apart, still they find a way to come together, however briefly. More like visiting him in secret. The torch that Cupid bears represents Celine's undying infatuation with him. So instead, he saved its treasures from destruction, just as I saved these works. You could say we're kindred spirits. Good eye. The details are crisp, the contrast bold. It tells us more, and yet we feel less. His work was considered unremarkable. But when he took on the guise of Meer, suddenly it was celebrated as extraordinary. The Gust, by Willem van de Velde, the most famous of his many maritime paintings. A masterpiece like this was too important to lose to history. I even considered bringing it with me off-world to ensure its safety. My favorite pairing on the left is Woman Reading a Letter by Vermeer, a true master. Where others painted such scenes in a stiff and stationary manner, Rembrandt chose to show them in action, preparing to march. Both painters capture light, color, and perspective. But what makes one a masterpiece and the other simply an imitation? And on the right is a forgery, Woman Reading Music, which fooled experts into believing it was a priceless original. Ah, you're awake. You took quite a hit when Gerard attacked you. I imagine you must still be in a great deal of pain. His home, the ancient city of Jerusalem. He foresaw its impending doom, but could do nothing to prevent it. Though waves and wind threaten to destroy the ship, it perseveres, clinging to the light even as darkness closes in all around it. You know, long before holograms and focus recordings, people relied on art to memorialize their loved ones. The face is bright and defined, but his eyes are downcast, heavy with misfortune. And the background seems to swallow all light. Even though he's the sole survivor, his home in ruins, left with only the remnants of his world. The light keeps the shadows at bay. Rembrandt actually painted several portraits of Titus, but this one has always been my favorite. It's honest. In others, Titus was portrayed in brighter, livelier states, but here, Rembrandt allows himself to express his true feelings. But I like to think they underestimate her. She looks as if she's seen something. What does she know? What secrets does she keep? Celine and Endymion. She's the goddess of the moon, whereas he's a simple shepherd. Beside her is the god of love, Cupid.
Hush. All is not lost.
Are we all here? Then let's begin. There will be specters guarding it, and many more can be deployed from those hangars. I thought it might prove useful to come and go undetected, so I concealed it from the others. There's the launch tower. That plane offers a little cover, so the only viable path is through there. An ancient escape route from the ruins on the island. When I realized it ran all the way across the water, there's a sensor node nearby. If I hack into it, I should be able to scramble the network and keep you undetected. But not for long.
There's one in the middle of the desert that should do nicely. Then you'll want to pick up an energy cell on one of the ancient Horus Titans. To deploy it, you'll have to override one of the communication machines you refer to as Tolnecs. But first you must send out a pulse to activate them. I've sent you the necessary software.